Hello everybody and hello homies, my name is Jake and welcome to my KSP Beginner's Guide. Please keep in mind that this is only for beginners. So if you have been playing this for, I would say, over 2 or 3 weeks and you really know your basic material in this game, you can continue to watch this if you want, but I don't recommend it. This is going to be a bunch of stuff you probably already know. If you want to see more advanced tutorials, I'd recommend either Kurt JMac, HOC Gaming, or Scott Manley. Anyways, for our first episode, we'll be going over basic rocket building and flight mechanics. Keep in mind that this is version 0.18.4. So if you're on a version before that, then this is probably not going to help you. I don't know why you would be on a version before that. And if you're in a version above this, then, well, I'll make an updated video. So let's get into the game. I already have a game set up, so resume saved. Okay, so this is your space center. I'm going from left to right. You have the spaceplane hangar. Spaceplane hangar is basically where you are going to have planes, obviously, and land vehicles. Then there's the vehicle assembly building, aka VAB or VAB. This is probably the building you'll be spending the most time in here. You'll be building rockets, satellites, and spaceports, etc. in here. And then here's the tracking station. The tracking station allows you to basically see everything in the Kerbal system. I guess a little overview of it would probably help. So here's Kerbal. There's the moon. There's Minmus. That is Kerbal's second moon. And then you have the Kerbal system. Yeah, it's pretty huge. So, that's the tracking station for you. Basically shows you everything. And once we have ships and vehicles in space, you'll be able to see their rotation and all that. So, yep. Over here is the launch pad. That's basically where you're going to be launching your stuff, obviously. And then there's the runway where your planes and your land vehicles will be. Don't really need to explain those since they're pretty straightforward. But let's go into the vehicle assembly building, and here we have the command pods. Now for our first rocket that we're going to build, we're going to select command pod Mark 1, and no command pods are better or worse. It basically depends on either your preference or the type of rocket or the style of mission. Say you were going to build something to travel from, I don't know, Kerbal to Joule, you'll probably select the Mark 1-2 command pod. If you're going to build a satellite, then you probably select one of these, like the probe. But this is just going to be a suborbital rocket, so we're going to select command pod Mark 1. Raise it up a bit. Now the first thing that we're going to add to it is going to be on the bottom. If you go to structural, excuse me, I had a little burp. If you go to structural, there will be, I say that word, structural, anyways. There'll be a stack decoupler, the TR-18A. Please do not be intimidated by these crazy long words, the TR-18A, the NCS, the TR-18. It doesn't matter. Just memorize the picture. So this one is what we're going to use. Right here, we're going to place it right under the command pod. And a decoupler is something that, well, decouples. If you don't know what decouple means, it basically detach. It'll detach anything, and it also chooses your stages of the rockets. See? It highlights for you. Anyways, so underneath the decoupler, we are going to go to Control and have an advanced SAS module. Basically, an SAS is kind of like a very simple autopilot. It's going to keep you in the angle that you are going, or at least try to. If you're going 90 degrees, it's going to keep you 90 degrees. 45 degrees, it's going to keep you around 45 degrees. It's not the best autopilot, but it sure does help. So, underneath the SAS, we are going to have 3 FLT400 fuel tanks. Just memorize this picture. All this is just memorizing. So, we're going to select 3 of them. Just come on. Alright. 3 of them. Yay. And these are going to be our fuel tanks. They each have 180, I'm guessing, gallons of liquid fuel, which is what our main engine's going to be. once we select the LVT-30 liquid fuel engine, and of course memorize picture, this has a max thrust of 215. The other one has max power of 200. You know, this one can thrust faster. That's what I usually select. And we are done with our rocket. It's not a successful rocket yet, so we're gonna need to add 2 more things. First thing being, we're going to go to aerodynamic and select the AVR8 winglet. Now before you select that, we're gonna have to use the symmetry mode or symmetry tool, and if you're OCD like me, you will love this tool. Basically, symmetry. If you don't know what symmetry is, then you're probably too young to be playing this game in the first place. So we're going to select the AVR8 winglet, and we're going to select the symmetry mode of 3. It's going to look like kind of like a nuke sign. Select that, and we put it on here, it's going to have 3 of them. If we select 8, it's going to have 8 winglets. That's a little overkill. We'll select 1, which is the normal, which is going to have 1, 2, 1, 2, you know. You get where I'm going. So go to the nuke looking symmetry mode, and you'll have 3. So we're going to place these right here. Basically, these are going to help the SAS in the atmosphere. These aren't going to help much in orbit, but in the atmosphere, and they will definitely help out your SAS have a steady and nice flight. Please keep in mind that it does add weight. So if we click center of mass, that's the center of mass, obviously. And if we remove them, it will go up. So it's adding weight, which means it's going to have more thrust. It's going to need more thrust to be able to push that up. But it's not a big difference. And if we click center of thrust, it shows you where the power is going to be coming out of. So this really helps if you have multiple rockets and want to see where most of the power will be coming from. Yeah, there you go. Don't be confused by all these looking things, because I don't know, when I first discovered like those, like, oh, that's confusing. I don't know if I'm supposed to extend these or whatever. That's just it's alright. Do not overestimate this game. It's fairly simple. Sort of. Not really. But let's have a mindset of keeping it simple. So, and the last thing that we're going to add, we're going to go to utility and select the Mark 16 parachute. That right there is the lifesaver of this mission. Without that, this mission would have no reason, because it would just crash back to the surface. But so what this is going to do, as you see in these stages, the first stage, which is the thing to go first, is going to be the engine, which is going to throw us up into the air. Once we click space once more, it's going to switch to stage 0, which is going to be, it's going to deploy the chute and the decoupler. Decoupler is going to detach us from the rocket and deploy the parachute, so we'll land safely and live a, happy ever after life. So yeah, guys, this is your first rocket design. Pretty simple, and I believe that the max altitude it can get up to is, I think, 30 kilometers, which is pretty big for a first rocket. It's not an orbital rocket. You'll most likely not be able to get in orbit with this. I don't know. You can try if you want to. But I haven't really tried, but I don't think it will. So now the last step is to name it. What are we gonna name it? Let's name this. Let's name it Simple Workable Rocket. That's the name. Then we'll go ahead and save it, clicking the save button. And so now it's saved. You can load it up at any time you want. Then click the big green button called Launch. Okay, so now we're at the place where all the magic happens, the launch pad. This is where, obviously, we're going to launch our rocket. Up above, you can see the, don't mind that red button, that's the abort button. We're not going to click that, that's just dangerous. That's a little bit more advanced than what we're going to do right now. Those are called action stages, which we'll get into much later, or next episode. I don't know. Stop rushing me. So right here, you can see our altitude. Right now we are 76 meters above sea level, and if you look very closely, you can see the sea right over there. Here shows our level of atmosphere we're in. I don't really know what that does, actually. I'll figure that out later. Down here, I believe it's called like the command ball. I don't know. I don't know the exact term or name for it. So basically what it does, it kind of shows you where you're heading, where you're aiming, where your apoapsis and periapsis is. It's really helpful. Please forgive me because I do not know the name for it. But it's I know what it does. So, and then it's right here it shows where we are. We're now on the surface. It will either say the orbit and stuff like that. But right now we're on the surface, and that's our speed. We're going insanely fast. Did you see that? It like switched to like 0.1. I don't know how we're gaining speed, but you know, whatever. Here shows our throttle from 0% to 100%. That's our G-force. And over here it shows that's our roll, that's our yaw, and that's our pitch. W and S control our pitch. A and D control our yaw, and Q and E control our roll. Rolls can basically spin you counterclockwise, clockwise. Pitch, go from vertical to horizontal. Yaw, kind of like the same thing except you're going sideways. So that's our basic mechanics, our basic HUD, our heads-up display. Then if you click resources, it shows you our fuel levels, our electric charge, our oxidizer. And if we click stage only, it shows you what our stage is right now. But our stage has nothing, so we're not going to click that. There's our pilot, Jebediah Kerman, probably the most famous pilot ever in Kerbal Space Program history. He is basically the Neil Armstrong of KSP. He's a little suicidal, or a psychopath, or just crazy, or brave. Nobody knows. He is always happy about destruction, and he loves danger. But I'm not here to write a biography on him. So here we have the IVA and the EVA. Clicking IVA shows you his point of view. I seriously don't recommend this. This is extremely difficult, and I've only seen it done by Scott Manley on YouTube. He actually did a mission from this point of view with a different command pod, but you know, still, clicking C will get you out. EVA will launch you, or not launch you, you'll exit out of the command pod, see with the crew hatch, but we're not going to do that since we don't have ladders. And if we fall, Jebediah will have like the biggest nut crack right there, so that's probably best not to do that. So that's the basic HUD. So if we hold down shift, we could raise our throttle, and to decrease it, just hold down control. To activate SES, click T, that toggles it. Click it again to turn it off, or holding down F turns it on, letting go of F turns it off. Clicking R shows the RCS, but that's something totally different from the SAS, so we'll get to that later. Click that again, and now we're about to launch after stalling. Let's click SAS to help us, and it will be able to take control of our wings for us. And you know, I really wish they would add a liftoff to this game, because that'd be cool. But we have to do it by ourselves right now, so liftoff in T-5, 4, 3, 2. Look at that. We are going about to reach 100 meters a second. Right now we're at 90. 100 meters a second. Yay. So I'm not going to do a tutorial on how to get in orbit. That'll be next episode. But I'm going to show you the basic flight mechanics. I showed you the HUD. Now I'm going to show you how to control it. Turning off SAS. Don't worry. This is a really basic rocket, so it's not that hard to control. Turning off SAS, it'll be fine. Clicking W, you'll see on, oh, I remember now, it's the nav ball, I believe. So holding down W will go that way, holding down S will go the opposite way. Let's try to get it back into the center. SAS. SAS will get you back to where you're heading. And once you reach 10 kilometers, 10,000 meters, we will let go of SAS. Right here, hold down D. And this is basically the first steps of getting in orbit. But we're not going to get to that yet, of course. It's just a little teaser of what's to come. So, let go of T. Let's go the other way, holding down A. Kind of screw with momentum here. Click SAS again. And so now you can see the little... This is how you control it, basically. And if you want to see... Let's get back to the center real quick. SAS. Okay. Now, if we hold down Q, let go T, boom, 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 be kind of like a bullet in space, but we're not going to do that right now. Oh, now we're out of fuel. So what do we do? Let's click M. It will show you our map view. Look at that. That is how high we're going to go. There's two terms. There's the apoapsis. The apoapsis is basically how high we are from sea level. And then there's the periapsis, but that only takes place in orbits. Periapsis is the lowest you are from sea level while you're in an orbit. Since we're not in orbit, there is no periapsis, just only an apoapsis. So, obviously, it's going to take a while to get there. So let's get back. So this is what it looks like from here. Wow, it's a beautiful game. So you guys want to take a thumbnail pic? No, let's take a thumbnail pic. Hold on, I'll just choose one. So if we go back to M, here we are. Now if I click the period button, oops, I have to, clicking X will automatically lower your throttle all the way to 0. Just a little quick tip. So we go back, if I click the period button, we get speed up time. Click the comma, lower time, time warp. So if I raise it to 50 times, boom, we reach the apoapsis. Now we're gonna be plummeting back to Kerbin. So let's lower time back to the normal time. And now we're going to have to save Jebediah from plummeting to his death and being the first Kerbalnaut into space, sort of. Not, maybe not orbit, but he was into space. And so, by the way, this continent looks like Africa to me. If you just cut that piece off. Anyways, so by clicking space, decouples, detaches. That's the rest of our rocket just falling back down. And congratulations. We can't call it a successful flight yet because we still have to land. Let's see. We're going to be landing on land. I'd recommend landing on water though, because this is a much safer, softer kind of cushion. But now our parachute is deployed. If it's looking kind of glowing blue. But don't worry if it's not deploying yet. Let's speed up time. And parachutes, they have two stages of deploying. At first it'll pop out, which you will see somewhere around right here. We're now back in the atmosphere. And the more you get into the atmosphere, the slower your speed is because of the drag. And there you go. That's the first stage of the parachute. It's not going to slow you down right now. We're still falling like 700 meters a second. Now 600, 500. But the more you get into the atmosphere, the slower it is because how dense the air gets. And so, we are about 5.5 kilometers from sea level. The parachute is still not deployed yet. It's just out. So if we wait, it usually does its final stage when we get around 1 kilometer. So let's speed up time. And once we get around 1 kilometer, it'll do its full deployment. Just in case any of you guys are wondering. So around right, there you go. And now we're falling at 6.5 meters a second. Jebediah is looking pretty neutral right now. I'm guessing he's not happy how boring this mission was. But don't worry, Jebediah, we're gonna have plenty of better flights in the future. We just have to get to the boring part so we can get to the awesome orbital interplanetary landing flights and satellites and all that. So just don't worry, Jebediah. We'll get to there soon. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. We covered your space center, all the stuff that you have access to, or we covered mostly the VAB. We still have to cover, we covered the VAB and the tracking station. We still have to cover the spaceplane hangar, but that'll be a separate episode. And I showed you guys how to build your first rocket that does not end up in a crash, how to decouple from that rocket and deploy a parachute. And yeah, guys, I showed you the HUD of your rocket, flight mechanics, how to steer, SAS and all that. So I hope you guys really did enjoy this. Like for more, because likes and favorites are always much appreciated. and it really helps me to do videos because I do these absolutely advertisement free. I don't do this for the money, I do it for the fun and as a hobby. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please feel free to either private message or just leave them in the comments. Either way is fine. I love to answer you guys' questions. If you guys have any suggestions to what to do in the future, please tell me, because this series is all about you guys, all about teaching you guys Kerbal Space Program. The demo is, for some reason, if you don't have the demo and you're still watching this, it's in the description. It's a totally fun game. I've been playing it for the past week, non-stop. I played it before, but not as hardcore as I did this week. I mean, like, locked in my room, lights off, with piloting rocket ships. I don't know. It's a really fun game, and I totally highly recommend it. So thank you all for watching. Likes and favorites are always much appreciated. Subscribe to Humify, and I'll see you all later. My name is Jake, and Humi on.